We are live here with Pinchas Gutter, and Pinchas, she is in Kiedanai, in Lithuania.
I was born in Poland.
In Poland. Do you remember anything of your early childhood from those days?
I remember everything about my early childhood. There's nothing about my early childhood from the age of about a year and a half that I don't remember. I was
tell us about it.
Well, I was born into a Hasidic, very religious family.
Okay.
I had a twin sister whose name was Sabina, and we lived in Łódź, which was the second largest city in Poland. It was it was an industrial city where the main industry was textile. Second largest textile industry in Europe after Manchester in England, and we were winemakers. And my mother was a Norwegian, Scandinavian type lady. She was like 5'11", and she was very beautiful, had blonde hair. So we could actually pass as Aryans, as Christians.
As a young boy.
Every one of them is just one story. What I'm telling you is the story of one family. They destroyed one family and another family, and it's not. You can't talk about the millions. It's individuals they destroyed. Destroyed their lives. Destroyed everything about them.
Okay, Atalo, do any of your students want to ask a question? And maybe if you want to ask in some Portuguese, because I don't know if you know this, but our guest speaker happened to be a polyglot. And he can speak 8 languages. And Portuguese, although it might, I don't know how good it is, maybe you want to ask a question in Portuguese?
Eu estive em São Paulo ano. Trabalhou na Sociedade de Artefactos Metalúrgicos.
Gustavo has a question for you. He's going to say it in Portuguese, and I'm going to say it in English, okay?
Okay.
Em algum momento, assim, você teve que ser agressivo com alguma pessoa para se defender?
So at any time, did you have to be aggressive or violent to protect yourself during your teenage years or your childhood?
This is a very interesting question. And it's an interesting question because the possibility of aggression on the part of a prisoner is not like, for example, a prisoner in a normal country. I know there were riots in Brazil recently. I read about it. People died. But generally, a prisoner has got privileges and has got, and occasionally a prisoner can get aggressive and then he can, get punished for it. But in the camps, if you showed any aggression whatsoever, a revolver was taken out or a machine gun and you were shot on the spot. So it was very difficult to be aggressive. But what you could do is you could resist passively. In other words, when you were working, you tried very hard to jeopardize what you were doing, not to aid the Nazi war. And a lot of people did things like that. Some of them were caught and some of them were hanged or shot. But there was quite a lot of resistance, but it was a kind of passive resistance. It wasn't like, you go to a guard and shout at him or do anything, because the slightest thing, even without it, sometimes when he saw that you didn't look nice at him, he would shoot you. As you were marching from work or back there or back, the guards could kill you. There was no, it's difficult to comprehend such a thing. But there were some people who did resist. And there was resistance. There were uprisings in Sobibor in a death camp. There was uprising in Treblinka in a death camp. There were uprisings in ghettos. There were uprising people, but that was not in a working camp and not in a concentration camp where people were working, because the guards were so on guard and you were guarded so. And then there were internally prisoners. German prisoners were brought from German prisons, and they were still prisoners, but they became couples, overlords over you, watching you all the time in the barrack at night, whenever. So there was very little opportunity to actually, be aggressive.
And I also want to say thank you very much to my very good friend Gary Edelstein, to them.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. I'm going to stop the broadcast here.